No.
You don't want to feel like.
I will give you
I
this?
think-
No, open it up. Sometimes not open.
All right.
Try it.
No,
They have
that's
nuts in them.
tempting.
No one's allergic to nuts, right?
Yeah.
No nut allergies in the room?
I am.
No.
Okay, folks, we're back
Try to
on,
take it home.
we're back on
Put it in my candy dish.
track. The first item is short-term rentals, and I noticed we have a tremendous variety of ordinances from various towns. Before I open it up to discussion, I'd just like to say that one of the suggestions given us by the fire inspector, which I've thought about for many years, is just to have a CCO, continued certificate of occupancy, which means that anytime there's a new tenant in any rental, they need to get a CO, which gives the municipality a little bit of sense of what's going on. I don't know.
It depends on, I think it depends on what you want to accomplish. I'm not real clear on what everybody at the table wants to accomplish. Most of the towns were concerned about the Airbnb situations, and I don't think that that's what we're most concerned about. We're more concerned about the neighborhood hotel. And from my perspective, and again, I've never had the opportunity to stay at an Airbnb anywhere, but those are generally the shortest of terms, I think, because it's vacation type, stays. So, from my perspective, if you don't want to make those, and I have something else to say about those, but if you don't want to make those unlawful, but you want to stop the medium-term type hotel type, motel type stays, the CO issue, the CO approach is good, but set a time frame that would not cover the Airbnb type stays, but would cover the things that you're trying to accomplish. Now, okay, another comment is, you notice, I think I showed you that that of all those ordinances that I showed you, that there were no one was ever violated, and we know that there were violations of those ordinances, but there were no summonses issued, and I think maybe one of the towns had summonses issued, but there were no summonses issued. So that tells you that it's really a matter of enforcement. So how do you know when someone is violating? It's tough because a private house is being used for an Airbnb. Assume that your ordinance covered Airbnbs. You don't know about it if someone complained. Otherwise, you never know. So enforcement is probably the most important thing. So you got to decide what you want to cover, and there are ways to do it.
Well, I think the first thing is to decide what we want to cover.
Exactly.
But the interesting part of it is, and it's not clear in my mind, I don't know if anybody spoke to the woman that wrote the original letter, but the question becomes, what was her objection? Was her objection because she saw this on the internet and she feels it's inappropriate to the town? Or is her objection the fact that these people are going in and out of the house and somehow interfering with her quality of life? Because ever since I got that first letter, I drive past that house all of the time. I never see any activity there. Once in a while I see a car in the driveway. So I'm trying to figure out what, if any, impact that has on the neighbors that would create a need for them to complain.
Different than a family that lives there, has an active, children having activities out, they're going in and out. How is that any different from,
So here's what I'm sorry, you go.
No.
So here's then what I think. In the residential areas, if one specific location, it's now advertised as a hotel or that type of thing, we are having a violation of the zoning by having commercial activities which are not allowed in the residential areas. And that's important from the point of view of everybody else interfering with other activities. They become commercial activities. So that's very important. The issue of quality of life might not be so much of a visible type of difference in this, but the issue of having a commercial activity is becoming a problem. Because then you're gonna have the possibility of having many other locations in the residential area becoming commercial
Okay,
properties.
but for example, we have a law in Tenafly against commercial vehicles being parked in residential driveways.
Yes.
So if you see a plumber's truck in a driveway, you know it's a violation. If you call up code enforcement, they come and see that truck, they can issue a summons. How do you expect, now, I sat and listened to the mayor of Fort Lee talk about the fact that he didn't want Airbnbs in his neighborhood because there was a party house down the street from where he lived. Okay, however, I don't think this is the case in this particular situation. I'm not supporting what they're doing, but I'm simply saying, how would we go about enforcing whatever we want to do in this particular case? You're gonna knock on the door when you see a car in the driveway?
No, you basically, first of all, you go and knock on the door saying you're listing your property as a commercial property, as a hotel, and as such you are in violation of the residential area status. If you do that, first of all, we're gonna have to fine you, and secondly, we're gonna have to reassess your property taxes because now you are a commercial entity, and as such.
No,
We
it's
don't
still
know, we wanna do
residential.
the second
You're-
part.
you're-
It's
okay.
still residential.
It's
we
still
wanna do
All right,
residential.
so we'll just stay.
So, to be honest, I would think that where code enforcement is concerned here, we would issue a summons in the mail
Yeah.
to the property owner.
Yes, right.
Saying that you're running whatever kind of establishment we want to describe, it's in violation of the code,
Yeah.
and there's summons.
Cease and
Now,
desist.
And cease and desist, that's right.
one or two responses. One is they may pay the fine, even if it's a court appearance is required, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to stop what they're doing. Or they may go to court and say, I'm not doing anything
Nothing
against the
wrong.
law. And then you have to prove that they're running a hotel or they're running a commercial establishment. And where would that go, Bill?
You have to be able to define the offense so that you can use objective evidence to say, look, this is what you were doing, and this is what our ordinance says you're not allowed to do. What you did was contrary to it. Something that you can look objectively rather than subjectively by saying, oh, you've been using it as a
So
hotel.
do we need a new ordinance? We have we have zoning ordinances now. In
But-
my mind, they're in violation of a zoning.
Of which ordinance?
An ordinance that says that it's a residential neighborhood, they're running a business there.
Oh, is it a commercial activity?
But
You
how
know,
is Aaron?
that's, if it's a single-family home and you are, you're.
Is Airbnb considered a commercial business? That's
The-
that's the question.
The cases I've looked at, and most notably that Texas case, where the court actually struck down the ordinance. Oh, well, actually, I shouldn't say that. It was a community association bylaw that said you couldn't use your house, as a commercial activity. But the courts expected to extend it to Airbnbs. That Airbnbs were not a violation of a community association. I think it said you couldn't have a commercial activity in your unit. They were residential only. They were using it as Airbnb. So I'm not sure how to define it. What's really a commercial activity?
I would say 2 years ago, I was at a meeting that was held by Valerie Huddle with a bunch of mayors, including the mayor of Fort Lee, and she was going to, initiate a state ordinance or law against this kind of activity, and nothing ever came of it.
But how do you define it? You say.
Well, that might be one of the problems.
You say renting it has to be based on timing.
So we-
Consecutive
You
days.
can't say you can't rent your single family home,
Absolutely.
right? When you have a property right, you can't say, you know what,
You can
I
earn
own
money from
this home, I want to rent it. Does the fact that you're renting it make it a commercial activity?
No, but I thought what
Doesn't.
I heard at this table by more than one council person, and I agree with it, was the description in the internet basically said, I'm running a hotel here.
Yeah, but you know what?
That's not good enough?
What you say in the, how you describe it doesn't dictate what
So
it
then
is.
we need to pass an ordinance in your mind?
In Hackensack, by the way, in Hackensack, they have, and we probably have it here too. You know, they have an ordinance that says
Yeah,
that
Hackensack.
you can't have, it's the city of Hackensack, you can't have separately locked rooms. In other words, it's like a boarding house.
Yeah.
So that you are actually making it available to separate units, not necessarily family units, but
An
separate
SRO,
separate
single room occupancy.
residential units that are secured against anyone else going in. So I know that I know from personal experience because my late partner had a house and a restaurant, was renting the house and having his staff live there, and they had locks on all the doors. And
Yeah, but
you know,
you've
but
been, over
that's
the years,
different.
you've been witness to discussions at this table where we tried to decide, you know, people have extended members of the family, or maybe in many cases, not blood relations living with them. And, you know, it's not a matter of locks on the doors, and I don't think there's locks on the doors at this house either, because it sounds like they're almost renting
The whole house.
either the whole house or at least a large
Come
wing.
in my
That-
daughter
as-
sees my daughter's room, she has a lock on the door.
As the lawyer
Tell her she's in violation.
sitting at this table, remember when you were back in law school, the Long Island case about, you know, what's a family unit?
Oh.
I forget the name of that case,
I
but we
don't
probably all
remember.
remember reading about that case.
Yes.
And that dates back to the 70s, when, you know, a Long Island town tried to stop people from renting out houses and having multiple families living together there. And it went to the
New York Supreme.
New York, I think, Supreme Court. Not New York Supreme Court,
Court of
Veterans and
Appeals.
Court of Appeals, yeah.
Court of Veterans and Appeals. Saying that no, if you're living as a family unit, it doesn't matter if you're related to one another.
Right.
They tried to tie it into, you know, blood relationship.
Jeff,
you know.
did you want to add
Yeah,
something, please?
so my problem with it, since you said we've expressed, my problem with this is that I don't want to have in our neighborhoods, you said, for example, kids coming in and all that, but the fact is I know my neighbors.
Mhm.
If somebody is coming, and I'm not even talking about long-term rentals, if someone's coming in for 1 week it's this group, 1 week it's that group, I don't know them.
Mhm.
And I think that's where the problem becomes, is if this is a rotating rapidly. So to me, the essence of this is time.
Mhm.
I don't think we can stop somebody if they wanna, it's their property, they wanna rent it for a year, they wanna rent it to 2 families. Well, we can't have 2-family dwellings, but I mean,
Right.
have extended family for long-term, that we can't stop. But I think this idea of we're advertising it, you could say 3 nights, is a problem. That's running a business in a very residential neighborhood. We don't want business, we don't allow businesses. We do have ordinances against that for residential neighborhoods.
Mhm.
And I think we need to just make sure that this is clearly defined. I know New Jersey defined what a hotel is.
Mhm.
And even that one up here will not meet that definition. But a lot of these ordinances definitely do talk about time.
Mhm.
And that's the key, and I really don't think that we want something where every 3 days there's a turnover.
Well, I think we all agree
Right.
that we don't want
So
what we
it's-
have
so
there.
we need an
The
ordinance.
question becomes, how do we go
So,
about
so
preventing it?
these towns have ordinances that limit the amount of time, and I think that's how I would like to see us go about it, at least I for one.
I think that's the only real practical way to approach it.
Right.
Because otherwise you're becoming too subjective in what you're describing it as.
Mhm. And your point before about enforcement, look, we could get rid of half of our ordinances if the issue is how do we enforce it, because half the ordinances are hard to enforce in this town, ranging from a commercial vehicle driveway to somebody doing work on Sundays, stuff I see violated all the time. But that doesn't mean we should be afraid to put forth an ordinance so that if a neighbor wants to complain that this is going on in my neighborhood, I don't want this in my neighborhood, and it's not a good thing to have, then we should
Okay.
consider the
Laura,
ordinance.
please.
So I'm gonna show two different opinions. First, and correct me if you guys remember this wrong, but I do remember Shama, and I just wanna advance this argument for discussion purposes. Shama really did not wanna take away the short-term Airbnb for an economic income to anybody who wants it. I think she felt strongly that we should allow someone who wants to make a couple $1,000s off a weekend to have that ability. So, I don't disagree with her, but I will say I liked Bill's idea. My personal opinion is I liked Bill's idea that either you need a CO for like 3 to 5 days, or anything more than 3 to 5 days, and less than 30. I think that should be maybe the time limit.
I don't know that you want to say less than 30, because I know towns that have it. You're gonna have more than a certain amount of time, you need a new CO.
Okay.
Now, maybe you don't want to impose that on property owners because you want to more encourage, rentals, but certainly is a way to enforce a lot of health and building codes.
Don't they have to be
I'm a bit
inspected?
confused by what you said.
Two different
Not
opinions.
for, not for a single
Well,
family.
but to me, they contradict. You don't want, you want to allow somebody to rent a place for $1,000 for 2 or 3 nights, but you don't want to let this person, well, that's what they're doing.
So one argument was Shama's, and I just wanted to advance it because she's not here. So Shama would like to maintain the ability to have the Airbnb.
The very
Airbnb.
short term, like
And then I said-
vacation
But
time.
that's what
And
this
my
hotel
separate
is
opinion,
doing.
no, the hotel is advertising for not, God bless you, not a short period of time. The hotel is calling itself Tenafly Mansion, and I believe their terms are much longer. They're allowing full weeks or 2 weeks or whatever it is.
No, I tried one.
Wonder-
So,
What?
so now are you suggesting that we allow short-term rentals but not medium-length rentals?
Yes. A
Well,
long
what does
weekend.
that, what does that solve, though? I don't understand.
It's an economic thing, I think, that,
But
Do you
at
really
what
think that
cost?
we should be worried,
To Jeff's
wor-
point.
with all due respect, worried
Yeah,
about
sure,
people
make
who
money,
have private
but
homes
my neighbor
earning
might-
income by renting them out on a short-term basis?
I think the purpose of Airbnb is a short-term basis. I think this Tenafly Mansion goes beyond that and falls somewhere in the middle.
But they certainly go beyond that with their advertisement. But the actual, what they do,
Their concept.
I don't think is any different than an Airbnb.
No.
Unless you can tell me that they don't take, because they're advertising on a daily basis. Now, maybe some people take a week, but I would guess that, that most people are there less than a week.
I have an idea. Let me throw this out. I don't know how to word this,
Okay.
but conceptually think about this. What if you regulated the ability in a single-family neighborhood to not have overlapping rentals? In other words, you don't want to, like, I'm going to rent to Lauren, your family's going to rent 2 rooms out of my house from over this weekend. I have another group coming in that's going to start on Sunday and rent till Wednesday. In other words, I'm renting in overlapping rentals and define the commercial activity as that. In other words, if I want to have
This guy falls
Yes.
outside of it, though. He's renting his entire house.
That's gonna be
no, but is
interesting.
he
It's gonna be
renting
enforced.
it? Is
That's
he,
weekends.
no, but is he renting it?
Enforce that.
Is he renting it to just one group at a
Yeah.
time?
But
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that's his whole house for one
Airbnb
group at a
in
time.
general?
That won't help me
I
then.
mean, I stayed in
He
1, 2
actually
nights.
advertises 2 different rooms.
How do I know
you
that they
can
didn't have
rent.
somebody coming
Yeah,
the next
but you
night?
can get
Or whole
both
house.
of them
Or
or the whole
But I
house.
could have one person
Yeah.
rent a room for 3 days and somewhere in the interim
So
someone
he would
else
only
rent.
violate it half the time then.
Right.
I think
Okay,
this
that
person
makes
on the
two topics.
internet is just taking it to another level with his advertising.
Yeah.
To me, that's a glorified,
Airbnb.
Airbnb. That's what it is.
So the
Call
question
it a
is,
mansion, call
do
it
we
whatever
wanna
you want.
Gotta use
stop it or
timeframes
not?
then.
If we wanna stop it, we're gonna get
think we
we
need
can
a
put
vote on
together
this.
resolutions
But
that
you
short
can't
term.
have Shama's way and stop it.
Exactly.
You can't. It's either
But
or.
But
You
Shama,
allow it, or
Shama's
you don't.
way, for 3 days, I would allow like a weekend, or, a 3-day in a row consecutive days. After that, you need a new CO
But what if it's a 4-day week?
So you're gonna have a party house every weekend.
for 3 days. Then
Is that
we
what you
have,
want?
then we have a noise
That's what the
violation.
initial complaint
Then we
was
have,
about.
then we have noise
But you
violations,
have
or
a
then we
neighbor
have.
We have
You
ordinances
need to
that
have
address
That doesn't
those
solve
things.
anything.
One
To
tenant
Jeff's
can
point,
have-
quality of life drops considerably.
Yeah, but
Then,
keep
That's
in
one of
mind,
the
if we're
ordinances that we
seeing a
don't
lot of
enforce.
weekend
I
party
don't care if you make
houses.
money if you ruin every one of my weekends.
yeah, plus it wouldn't be a noise violation, it would just be a nuisance violation.
Well, we at least have some sort of violation there in that situation, and
Yeah.
if we find that we're getting lots of
Well, I
party
think we-
houses and reavers,
I think we already have a
revisit it.
violation, they're running a commercial business in a residential
But
area.
how do you
So
define
you
that?
don't wanna have any of these people do Airbnb?
I don't know how to define it.
Uh,
Just
Like
asking
the
you,
30-day
like,
limit.
is
Well,
that
how
a
is
big-
it defined in our ordinance?
Then there's no Airbnb. No one's gonna do it for 30 days.
I don't think
World
it is.
Cup.
I think it is. I think it just says commercial business. Right? You can't have
Well,
commercial activity in
Well, the commercial businesses are defined
Business.
for the commercial zone.
the different types of commercial businesses.
Yes. And it includes, I believe, bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
Okay, like,
I
yeah.
believe it does.
What Airbnb, the B&B stands for. I don't.
Right here, bed and breakfast,
I
right?
believe that's in the,
And that's not a permitted use in a single-family zone.
Correct.
Has anyone spoken to this owner?
The whole thing about Airbnb though is it's selling, it's
Are you talking about the
marketing
complaint?
a home or
No, the
residential
owner.
experience,
The
so
homeowner
that you
who's
don't have to
advertising.
go to a commercial.
Right. That's the whole point of it.
What do you wanna
Supposed
say,
to be
what would
non-commercial.
you like to say to her?
I'd
How
have
many
some questions.
customers you get per week?
I don't know.
Clients?
Well, but once again, I think that's irrelevant, if whether we allow it or not, should not be based on how many rentals she gets each month.
Let me
We
just
either
say something.
allow them or we don't.
Clearly, if, and we know that every town, our land development regulations, our zoning regulations are not that much different than any other similar town. That all towns say, we know what zoning law says, if it's not a permitted use, it's not, you can't do it, right? And we know that all the residential zones, if you look at anyone's zoning ordinance, it's gonna say that commercial uses are not permitted in residential zones. If that were the case, if you could stop it that way, then no one would need to pass an
I'd have an
ordinance.
Airbnb.
but they're all these.
But they are.
I feel like Airbnb falls out of the definition of commercial business.
I think
I
so
can
too.
tell you
and-
the definition, I just.
Because
That's
that's,
the problem.
and the only court that I saw that actually directly addressed it, and I'm sure there are others. The only one that I actually saw when I did a little bit of research was that Texas court, who went to Texas Supreme Court on, but it wasn't with respect to an ordinance, it was with respect to a community association's regulations about what you're allowed to do with your unit. It was a condo association.
Can
I mean,
can
I
I
think-
read you the commercial dictionary definition? The definition of commercial is something related to doing business or for business purposes.
But we have to see our definition in our ordinance.
I mean, that's, but,
Under planning board.
That doesn't help us.
no, but that would probably be the,
Because
I'm
renting
going
your
to, I'm
home
going to
is-
suggest the following, we've spent over 20 minutes
much,
on this,
yeah.
we're like spinning our wheels, which we do in a lot of cases. I think it's nice to have a discussion, but I think we should table this until somebody comes back with a concrete proposal, which we can discuss on its merits and either say, let's move it forward or let's not move it forward.
I'd like to task an ordinance be drafted here.
you have to decide what you want to do though.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a vote
A vote on what?
on what the ordinance should say.
what we wanna do. I would be very much
No?
in favor
I don't
of
care. That's-
reducing the.
I mean, you really, you just have to decide. You can't, what I don't want is just say, oh, just draft an ordinance.
No, let's.
You know, like, wait a minute.
Okay, so here's what I would say. I'm very much in favor of issuing an ordinance whereby short-term rentals are not allowed in residential areas. And we can define the short-term rentals as rentals up to 30 days.
Yep,
Less than 30 days.
less than 30.
Up to 30
Yeah.
days, yes.
Short-term rentals are rentals that don't extend beyond 30 days.
Exactly.
We should not put single-family zone, but residential zone.
In residential
Because
areas.
you don't want this in the two-family zone?
True.
Yeah,
True.
okay. So that would be
Okay.
my opinion.
All right, Dan, you have a problem with that?
I do not.
I'm sorry.
Lauren, you have a
I
problem with
wasn't
that?
listening 'cause I
You
asked
should do
questions.
this.
30 days.
Jeff, do you have a
He
problem?
said,
Obviously not. That's
an ordinance that
supposed
says that,
30
that
days.
rentals of less than 30 days in a
Appropriate.
residential zone is not permitted.
Okay, that's what I propose and tell yes or no,
Well,
whatever.
it's, other
Really
towns
want
have
your
those,
opinion.
it's,
You wanted an ordinance, I don't know what else you want.
I want to carve out for the 3-day rental.
That's silly.
That's where.
That's
I-
absolutely
that-
silly.
that is,
Then just
very
don't,
difficult.
then just don't do anything.
Because my
Then
fear
you
is
can
that
just-
somebody who would have earned money off of this, like this property owner, would turn around and sue us for the loss of economic revenue.
Yeah,
Their right to the property to use it in their,
I
Well,
don't
what
see.
they would do is they would violate it and then, appeal it.
Yeah,
saying
but
that
I
it's
don't see, they
unconstitutional.
have it
Well, any
all over.
any ordinance we pass is vulnerable to something like that.
of
Of
course.
course.
Okay,
But
if
in
you
this
have,
case
if you
in
put,
particular.
if you exclude up to 3-day rentals, somebody can say, well, I've only been here 3 days, even if that's day 5 or 6.
I renewed it
How
for
you
3
gonna-
more days.
How you gonna know that?
Right.
I keep renewing, consecutive
Right.
renewals for
You,
3 days.
you either do it or you don't.
And
Days here,
and
3 days there, 3 days
there is
back,
this
3
type
days
of
there.
ordinance in 20 different towns, and I guess.
None of which are being enforced.
They're not enforcing it,
Does an
unfortunately.
ordinance like this prohibit a senior from taking in somebody?
No.
Long term, no.
No, absolutely
Oh,
not.
for more than a month.
No.
Okay, because
You
there is
wanna
that.
share, you wanna
that
share
initiative.
housing, that's long term, it's more than 30 days.
Okay.
So do we have
You'll
a
have it ready
consensus?
next week, Bill?
Yeah, so I'm just gonna copy one of the other
One of
towns.
these.
Lisette, what is
Make sure they don't
public hearing on
conflict.
18-16?
Okay, this is
No, there
this
was-
is just
the
a
question
formality
was-
that since the meeting was rescheduled from the 27th, we can't hold the public hearing on the Angle Street parking because it was advertised as being held on the 27th. So it has to be held on October 9th, and I just have to state that for the record.
Okay.
Okay.
Jeff, I'm sorry, you,
No,
I
I just wanted to make clear that I did not agree with, allowing 2 or 3 days.
No, we're not going to do that.
Right.
I just wanted to make that.
All right,
got it.
we're
3
shoving it
days.
down somebody's throat.
okay.
Next is the final administrative report from the current administrator.
Short and sweet. We're in transition, and Lizette and I have been meeting on a daily basis. We've been covering different topics and different themes in each meeting. As you can see, we've included Susan, the CFO, we've included the Public Works Director, and our administrative staff, as well as the engineers. And I'm happy to report that I think that she's up to speed.
No pressure.
No pressure.
I'm a witness to these meetings, and I'm
That's right, every time you come in, we're having one.
assuming that all the problems that have been going on have been solved.
They have.
All right.
And as you see, the police department is recommending our approval and support of an event that they have reviewed on behalf of the Mormon School, which is an anti-bullying event, which they hope to hold on October 9th. They would have a rain date of October 16th, but this involves a BMX bicycle team that travels and goes to different schools and does gives anti-bullying messages in the course of doing their exhibition.
So I think they're going to, Max, you ought to be aware, I think they're going to close off that part of Magnolia
Yes.
Magnolia
I'm
Avenue.
not
in
gonna
front of
be
the
able to
school.
bully anybody during that time.
And
Unless
it's-
you want to get run over by a motorcycle.
It's just for a maximum of 2 hours, and it's during the normal school recess period. And then finally, just wanted to let you know that we had our pre-construction meeting on the Resco Park. It's going extremely well. The monument is in fabrication, using a firm very near to us in Englewood. So right now, we're very, very confident that we're going to be ready for the November 11th dedication ceremony. And an email has been sent out by Karen News. She's pulling together the group to do the planning. So they've accepted that
To the grand opening.
request.
The ribbon cutting.
Ribbon.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay, correspondence?
Before we go, last time we said we need updates on two different things. The building, the DPW building, where are we? And the Pfister Pond. We said we want to get something from the engineer. Where are we now with that?
Well, we had a conference call with the engineer.
Did you get the shop drawings today? Well, the engineer is in possession of the shop drawings, and
The
They sent an
update is
email
in the, yeah.
that they should have been sent over to Peter Punzi and Andrew today, but I think things are a little hectic because of all the
The
flooding.
They're doing a lot of inspections.
Yeah, a lot of inspections. I know we've had issues.
In fact, they've been doing inspections in Tenafly.
Yeah, so
That's cool.
I would assume by the next day or so you'll be getting the shop drawings.
Okay. And with regard to the DPW building, I mean, it is where it is at this point. It's in the hands, the bond company hasn't assigned an attorney. We're gonna be quite frankly, relying on Bill to coordinate with that attorney, to lean on the contractor. It's a complicated situation because the contractor has never literally walked off the job. What he does is he goes away for periods of time, comes back, does work. He was working as recently as a week and a half ago. But he did not respond to Carl's most recent email about when he's going to come back. So he's prepared the site, but he hasn't milled and paved the site.
So what is left to be done?
Oh.
Milling and paving of the
Yeah, just
parking
the
lot.
parking
The driveway and the parking lot.
Yeah,
That's where we are getting all the problems.
correct.
Okay.
I mean, the
Right.
building
Plus-
itself is
The
done,
building's done,
Yeah.
and really, it's just an annoyance that,
that they don't have parking, the
that it's-
full
You
parking.
You can't park, I mean, that's right, especially with this
Yeah,
rain, so.
And the winter's coming.
Correct.
You know, if we're gonna pave, you know, you don't want the
You have to do it in the next few weeks.
Well,
Okay.
in our transition meeting, our request would be for you to take a very aggressive stance with Bondex.
Yeah, well, their attorney's out on maternity leave.
There's a
Jeff, please.
replacement.
Well, they
Well,
must have
there's no
another one.
replacement.
Well,
Don't have
while,
one, no.
while we're talking briefly about milling, I believe it may have been Councilmember Dayton who at the last meeting said that would be good and that we should inform members of the community where we're at on Piermont on the town's website. And I don't believe I've seen that on the town's website, so I just wanted to know where we're at on that.
We have,
In terms of both the project and informing the public.
well, in terms of informing the public, it's very difficult to inform them. I mean, basically, we're awaiting the final approval through CSX. What has happened thus far is that CSX has sent us an agreement. They've selected their engineer to do their review. We have generated
But the minutes
payment.
showed that those updates were gonna be posted for the public
I know,
to
but-
That, I mean, I'm going by what we.
I mean, we'll put it up there, but I mean, it's
I think
it's really not that informative. It basically just says that at the present time,
I think
it
what I'm
rests
hearing is
with
the governing body would
CSX,
like it on the website.
and we'll put it up.
Okay.
And also, while we're on that subject, you know when like bigger towns, they close big roads, they do the police sign, expected construction on this day, plan
Yeah,
alternate
let's do
route.
that.
Can we get one of those up there?
As soon as we
When-
know what
when
they.
it happens.
The one that we
Let's
have.
just do expected
Right.
construction
Let's not make the
at
sign
some
up just
point.
yet.
The one that we
ETA.
have, our variable message sign, that's portable, and the
Yes, yeah.
police do move that. Plus, with our code red, you know, it's GIS based, we can get down to just
Well, everyone uses it.
identifying
Everyone
Listen,
uses it.
one
I
block.
think, you know, I don't care if they feel we're being a pest or not. Could we reach out to whoever the contact person is at CSX and say, where are you on this? We'd like to get this done before the
The
winter.
winter.
We sent the agreement Thursday,
Right.
to check Thursday.
Right. Well, just asking for a time frame.
I want a person on the other end telling me what the.
Ask for a time frame, because I was under the impression that this would be held up by CXX for just 30 days. It took us
At most.
more than 30 days just to get the agreement.
It took them 30 days to assign an engineer.
Yeah, you know, we need to give them the sense that we are we would like to get this done. You know, blame the mayor or blame the council,
If
whoever
it
you want.
helps you,
Whoever
all of us
you-
on
me,
council,
me.
on a daily basis
All right,
get
blame
harassed
Max.
about this from the public, because they have been.
Come and
told
join my
in
hope.
August, they have been, you know, asking us new questions, and we
We're
are.
called every day.
Okay, folks, let's move on. Correspondence, we get our annual letter from the Tenafly Traditional Holiday Committee. I don't think it's, you know, per functionary, we're going to allow them to put up their creche.
Absolutely.
Next is a thank you from somebody who uses Froggy Park. And I for those of you that have been down there, I think Froggy Park is looking better. I know I showed a catalog that came my way to Jamie, and we're looking at maybe putting up a very small shelter with a perhaps a picnic table or two underneath it. It would really add to the ambience of the park.
Yeah, the
Can I
one
comment
she
on that?
suggested was very nice.
Yeah.
I would like to comment on the lack of swing set installation here again. Let's just remember the summer has now passed. We had swings budgeted
Well,
for this year.
it's swing season now. Could
Swing
you,
set,
Lisette,
but-
would you follow up on that?
The purchase order has been issued, they're waiting for install.
So I understand our DPW is supposed to install, So,
No, it's
No.
a manufacturer.
No, Game Time has to install.
Okay. The second thing on
Then
that
what's
is,
the time frame?
I understand someone wrote, go ahead.
We're waiting to hear from the manufacturer. The payment has, the purchase order, not the purchase order, has been sent to them. That was the last thing that we actually spoke about this afternoon.
I know this email was sent, I walked Froggy Park today, and you know what?
Is that rain?
What I understand I hope not, but I understand
Sounds like
DPW
it.
did is they
Yeah.
just basically
Yes.
took the weeds that are growing in and on top of the, dirt, and they just cut them down to look like grass, but all the weeds are still there. So those should have been pulled,
That
And-
was the instructions.
just to cut it?
No,
Just
to
to
pull it.
No, it's still, I mean, it's still significantly weeds,
I'll take a
but
look.
just short-cut weeds.
That's
It looks
that's not,
neater, but not,
it's not satisfactory.
right, okay. And of
All
course,
right.
the other parks too haven't been touched.
We have a pod request. Anybody have a problem with the,
Well, it's 90 days.
This is the first set of.
It's the first request, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
and the last but not least is a request from Dr. Bonilla. I don't know how many of you had an opportunity to look at the sign in question. Personally, I think it's fine. It's
It's
an
absolutely
attractive sign.
fine.
It's not blocking anybody's vision. What do anybody
We're
have?
good.
When you
we
pull
good.
up on the side, it doesn't actually, you could actually see around the corner, so
Oh,
it's
yeah,
set
it's no-
back
Yeah,
enough.
exactly.
I think it's not a problem.
Lisette? It's okay.
It violates our ordinance.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably in one of the rights of
Yes.
way, it's a,
Yeah.
it's a
Right.
wide right of way, but
So-
we have the ability to grant permission if, you know, I would assume when there's a letter like this, everybody takes a look at it. If you have any issues with it, then we have the opportunity or the ability to deny,
Well, I
but
think the fact that
I
it's
just have a
cemented into the
formality
ground.
question. Why didn't this go to the
Most
Board of Adjustment?
Signs are just
It's
placed
not
on
a,
pole.
it's a request for a permission to the mayor and council when that's something like that, it happens.
yeah.
We want, Board of Adjustment will go to.
No,
if
this
they-
was not a Board of Adjustment,
That's
this was,
what
this
Yeah.
was, that was an error. Bob Burns does not have the ability to grant an exception to the rule.
On the
If he
signs.
denies it based on our ordinances,
Comes here.
it's our opportunity to weigh in on it.
Got it.
Any issues or questions on the resolutions?
I have a
Oh,
question on the resolutions.
Close.
I'm
Oh, we're
sorry.
gonna get
Do you
away
really
with
think
this.
there's nothing?
You get, no, the issue was like this.
Which one, Max?
It's regarding the expenses, of course. Not the resolution, I'm sorry, regarding the
The bill
expenses.
So you're talking about A, the expenditures?
Yes.
Okay.
If you look through the expenditures, you go again and you find the Hughes air conditioning, another $4,000 in payments. About 2 months ago, we discussed that it's time to do something, and we said Mazer is gonna try to look at that system to see why, we're having all these huge expenses. We have another $4,000 now for, when are we gonna do that?
We had asked Mazer to maybe a civil engineer should look at this.
That's been done.
And well, okay, it's been done, what's the end result?
Well, the end result was that we are not eligible for the direct install program run by offered by PSE&G because of the configuration of our system. And we know already that the complete replacement of our system would be an exorbitant cost. So what Mazer is recommending is that even on a long-term basis, we can gain some benefits and better control over our system by upgrading our controls of the system. Because apparently, one of the things that Hughes does is adjust the controls on our behalf.
Well, Lisette, Lisette,
on the walls.
But within the system itself.
Lisette, we need either a representative of Hughes or Andy or a combination of both
Yeah.
to come in and make a presentation as to what our options are and what the cost of these options would be. We asked for this 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And, if Max didn't bring it up, we still wouldn't know.
Well,
It would be in the engineering report. What happened was we had to figure out under this direct install program if there would be some type of rebate or cost savings where PSE&G would take care of the problem for us. So bills had to be gathered and analyzed to determine if it met the program requirements. That was done throughout the summer,
And they did
Joanna
a
said
physical
we are
inspection.
ineligible because of the configuration.
Okay.
So Plan B, which was discussed this past week, is go for the option of having direct controls installed in the units, so that way our maintenance people can adjust it without having to call in the HVAC company. It's
Well,
not the same.
I'd like to have somebody, either Andy or Hughes or some, like I said, some combination, come to our next meeting, explain this to us, and give us a sense of what it's gonna cost.
Exactly.
What it's gonna cost us, so that we don't have these surprise bills every month or every other month. All right, because this money is significant money, and we should have a handle on this. If it's going to be consistently cost us a certain amount of money each year or each month, we should know about it.
It cost us so far $34,000 this year in Hughes bills.
Okay.
So if we have to pay $15,000 to be done, hey,
I agree.
And we agree, that's what we're looking at.
yeah.
Okay, that's it for the resolutions?
No, I had a question, and actually, if you don't mind, I'm gonna direct this one to Jeff. The Roosevelt Monument, so are we awarded this, or are we applying for it?
It's been awarded.
It's been awarded. That's
We're
what-
accepting the grant.
Yes,
So we can now restore this
and
monument.
that's with a matching that's already
No.
been allocated?
Oh, no.
Yes and no. The grant is to award, but we don't have the match. The match would either be in next year's capital budget
Okay,
and wait until funds are available by Memorial Day to move forward,
okay.
or use open space. It's a historic preservation.
Which is eligible.
All right,
And it's an
Lauren?
eligible project,
Stop
and you could
that
start it,
ASAP.
what you do is adopt an appropriation ordinance, and you could start 6 months earlier.
So what we will need to understand is that if what's the time frame that, because winter is coming,
Right.
do we still have time to do that or not? If we don't have time, then we'll wait for the
May.
budget process, which is basically because if we can do, if there is time, there is let's get back and see what we can do.
Well, that's
That would
why we
be-
should have
Jeff,
somebody at the next
find
meeting.
out
Exactly.
what season this has to be done in, if it works in the winter, whatever type of work that
But-
has.
Well,
Well, keep in mind that upon our acceptance, it goes back to the county for signature. It probably won't come back for 3 to 4 weeks. Yeah.
Now we're
So
down
that,
there.
you can, that's almost another month in
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah, well, then you want December, November, December.
Okay, Lauren, you had under, for the good of the order, Tenafly donation days?
I just have one
Yeah, but
thing.
I wasn't
Susan-
done
Hold
with
it,
this too.
hold
Oh,
it.
go ahead, no, go ahead.
Susan
You're
wanted
first.
verification on the okay to release payment on a check that was held the last meeting, and she only
Yes.
heard from Max. But
Yes.
she didn't hear from anybody else. She needs
It's okay.
confirmation
Yeah,
from
we said, I think
the police. She didn't hear back in order to release the
that was
check.
the police system that we were
Yes.
questioning how much it
Yeah.
was, yes. I mean, he said we had no choice on that.
No, but
vendor, right?
we got it broken
JM
down,
Electric, right?
and it was everything fine.
Okay.
Lauren,
Okay.
Tenafly donation days?
Okay, so this is something I'd like to propose for our town. I think we do a lot of good works in town, and this, I'm trying to add to it. So the concept is similarly to our borough garage sale. A lot of people have homes that, they have stuff that there's accumulation, and they really just don't take the effort to donate it. I know from speaking with some volunteers at the Bergen Town Center and some of the other people that do donations through some of the schools and through the synagogue, that they're always looking for better ways to coordinate these efforts. So the idea behind Tenafly donation days is that we have one donation day in the spring, one donation day in the fall. And we can choose and invite different groups, let's say, a winter coat drive for the fall. And what they do is they come, they pull in with a massive truck, they're able to give out tax receipts at that time. So you can come directly into your town center to the truck, hand over your goods, let's say your winter coats, receive a tax receipt at that time, and then your donation is done. I was thinking I made a short list of childhood and baby goods, household furniture and household goods, and there's different companies that we can choose to do this. Children's games and toys. There's various companies that want to pick up shoes and sneakers. There's a lot of people without shoes and sneakers. Coat drive, of course. If we want to support the Bergen County Food Bank, that would be also a wonderful thing. We could do that around Thanksgiving. But I do think a coordinated effort. I think our town very often forgets that we're surrounded maybe by other towns that might need more stuff than us. And
I think it's a great idea.
So
Okay.
What I would suggest, first of all, twice a year, I think would be a good starting point.
Mhm.
Once in the
Spring
spring and
cleaning,
once in
fall
the
cleaning.
late fall.
That's right.
Yeah.
To be
That's the only
coordinated,
time
for
I
example, if you're going to do one in the late fall, you coordinate it with your October newsletter.
Mhm.
You're gonna do one in the spring, coordinate it with your March or April newsletter, okay? So what I would like to see you do, I don't know, would you think that this might be something you would coordinate with the recreation department, or do you wanna do it with the, see if the police wanna get involved? I mean, we don't wanna step on the Chamber of Commerce, which has the
I was
garage
actually thinking
sales.
Chamber of Commerce.
What?
Well, we just happened to put in approval for the 27th of October. Didn't we get that approval?
For
what?
the
What?
for the fair?
For what?
No. This was for the bringing in the shredder truck, the donation truck.
There you go.
I
That's
didn't
October
I didn't know about the
27th.
So
donation.
I was actually thinking coordinate it with.
Well,
our
wait a
book-
second.
Oh,
Hold on,
I
hold
forget-
on.
I have to
hold
say, I
on.
apologize. I don't
Hold
remember
on,
the-
hold on.
We didn't actually talk about
The
this.
county shredding truck is coming, I believe, on October the 6th.
Yes, that
Correct.
is true.
All right, so I'm not sure what other shredding truck you're talking about.
If you just turned in an application, we haven't even seen it yet.
No, this was 3 weeks ago.
I don't know anything about donations. We
So,
don't.
This
Lauren-
was this was right
All
before
right,
the
all right.
last council meeting.
All right, let's go back to what the business at hand. If you,
That would
I
still
think
be
this is a
the
great
October
idea.
meeting. We only meet once a
Um,
month.
What the next step, I think, would be to put in a timeline
seen
on a piece of paper. I think you ought to consider partnering with somebody, if you don't want to partner with the chamber, or with the police department, or with the recreation department, or, I don't think we should go with the HSAs. I think this should be a borough thing.
It should be a
Yeah,
borough. I'd like to,
absolutely.
and I think it's important too to show we're trying to, get some tax deductions and help others in the community.
Well, so I
it should be
think
borough run.
if we're gonna do twice a year, try and get a sense of what you think would be ideal to try and gather in October versus March. In October, we're looking for winter coats and maybe Christmas stuff for kids or for Christmas and
toys
stuff
and
like
stuff
that.
like that,
yeah.
In the spring, whatever you think.
Household goods. loan
Yeah, and
donation.
maybe sneakers, break it down in that way, and let's aim for a spring start,
Okay.
And, but I think you might wanna partner with somebody.
So what I'd like to do, and actually, Jeff, I didn't even have a chance to talk to you this week because I've been away, is I know the Bergen Family Center might be a wonderful resource to use, and Jeff's wife is on the board there. Not that that's why I'm picking it, yes, but I know he has a wealth of resources on this. So
And one of the
if you
things
want to do this with me,
one of the things you need to figure out is where your location, where you're gonna do this. If you're
Pick up,
considering
drop
a,
off.
if you're considering a school, then you need to get permission from the school. The ideal places would be like the middle school parking lot, or if it's not during the summer, the swim club parking lot on a Saturday or
Or
Sunday.
the Borough Hall parking lot.
Well, the problem with the Borough Hall parking lot is it's occupied
It's
in the fall and in
Yeah.
the spring. But the places I'm mentioning, like the swim club lot, is not occupied, neither is the middle school parking lot. You don't need a lot of room, but the borough municipal lot is full on Saturdays and Sundays, almost, except for the summer. And we're doing this in the fall and the spring. So come back with a more detailed thing, and I think it's a great idea.
Absolutely,
Okay.
very good.
Thank you.
With nothing else, I'd like to entertain a motion to close the
So
work
moved.
session.
So,
All in favor?
aye.
Do you need a 2-minute break? Can we go right? I sense we could be out of here at a reasonable time if we just.
Today, let's
You haven't
go.
heard my closed session one yet.
All right.
Your chamber report,
Okay, yes, thank you.
which is October.
So you want to go right into the
We've already
public meeting,
applied for a
folks?
permit
We can
from
take a break before
the Wells
Lauren's
Fargo
closed
parking
session.
lot.
Sure.
Okay.
And it's small
Bless you.
goods.
Lisette, you ready for the public? Christine?
She's just
Thank
giving me
you.
the chamber report. Okay.
He asked me for the other one. I think you need the 2 minutes.
Erin, we're going to go right into the public session, public meeting. Thank you. Good evening again. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the notice requirements have been satisfied. Meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center, and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Copies, notice of this meeting via the September 24th Sunshine Notice has been sent to the Record, Suburbanite, and Northern Valley Press, and has been posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center and the Borough website. Salute to the flag, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm gonna ask the Borough Clerk that when she changes the opening statement to put it in red so I don't trip over it.
Let whoever the deputy is to.
All right, thank you. Yeah, Susan did.
Councilmember Bash?
Yes,
Councilmember
here.
Dayton?
Here.
Councilmember Grossman?
Here.
Councilmember Park? Here. Mayor Russell?
Here. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from September 13th, the work session, the regular meeting, and the closed session.
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Revisions to the agenda?
We do have one. We have an addition to the closed session that Councilwoman Dayton asked for, and that's, what's it
An
again?
employee issue, employment issue.
Oh, personnel,
Personnel
employee issue. It's just being added to closed session.
Okay, we'll go around, see if there's any public comment.
Christine Everon, 39 Leroy. When you're discussing short-term rentals, can you please keep in mind that people augment their income by renting to business people on 9W, for instance? And then the ones I'm aware of are seniors. Also, bed and breakfasts, which are your historic preservation homes, or people who are interested in buying historic preservation homes often want to run them as bed and breakfasts. There's a whole niche buyer. The more difficult you make it to run bed and breakfasts, the more difficult it is to preserve your historic homes. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Are you saying that people that buy better historic homes in the residential area wants to convert them into commercial properties?
Well-
There is a niche of people who look to buy historic homes that want to run them as bed and breakfasts. If you do not permit that kind of use, it cuts on the buyers. For instance, that.
Hold on a
Okay,
second.
thanks.
Are there
This was
any,
the research
are there
that
any
I was-
bed and breakfasts in Tenafly now that you're aware of, in historic homes?
I don't know that,
Okay,
no.
so
And-
basically, this is a theoretical, Max, it's not, look, I
Okay.
understand what you're saying, but,
I was told there was a bigger, by real estate agents, and I interviewed several when we went through the thing on the house on Knickerbocker to try and save that. I was told unless people could run it as a bed and breakfast and did not have to go through the permitting process and buy it on spec, that it was very difficult to find a buyer. But if bed and breakfasts were already permitted, it was easier to find a buyer for a historic home. That's
Thank
all
you.
I'm saying. Thank you.
can you care to speak?
Robin Pierce, 42 Northern Place. Well, I was listening about all of this B&B thing. I'm not sure, but so far what I've heard in the last couple of times, it's like this one house. And it seems like they're making a decision about really one person that is maybe, it sounds more like an advertising issue than really how they're using it as a B&B. I think that I wouldn't agree that it's good to say that you can't have any B&B in town at all. I don't think that's fair to a homeowner. And over the years, we've given people we haven't taken away the opportunity for people that are living in a neighborhood that now you can't have a two-family home there. Because a lot of properties on Tenafly Road have been sold that were single families that were turned into two families.
It's a two-family zone.
Right, and I know there was discussion about that not being the case moving forward, but I feel that people do have the right to have their, you get the most value for their property when they're selling. And I think that I haven't heard of any B&Bs in town. It doesn't mean there aren't happening, but if it's not really such a big issue, why are you deciding you can't have it at all until it's really a problem? I agree that there should be, I don't know if there's some way of making sure that they are compliant with fire prevention. That's for the safety of the public. Some people don't change their batteries or make sure that they have a carbon monoxide detector that's working, so that could be an issue. I don't know if it would be, but you could, I mean, and in California, in some very touristy towns, people that own property are limited to how often they can basically have it as a B&B. Maybe if they're having, they do it like once a month or like for so many days. But I don't think you should, I personally don't think you should say, no,
Well,
nobody can do this at all.
Your point is well taken. ASB?
Yeah, Olga Milanos. I'm here to represent the Green Team and the Environmental Commission about the letter that you were going to write from the borough about the gas-powered plant.
Well, actually, we're going to pass a resolution opposing it and send it to the powers to be.
Right, good.
And as soon as you're finished speaking, we're going to entertain a motion and it's going to be approved.
Wonderful.
And it will be done.
Good.
Anything else? Any other members of the public? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, including that item.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Bash?
Yes.
Councilmember Dayton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hayden? Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
You sit in her chair. And Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Would it be good for you
Pass on to the end.
to listen to what the consent agenda says, that one of them, because you didn't get it, is specifically a resolution opposing that?
Yeah, I just showed her to him.
Yes.
You did, okay, thank you. Sometimes the consent
What if they
agenda has
rent it for
20
days?
resolutions and people
Maybe
don't know.
one renter, one per month.
And we didn't discuss it thoroughly in the work session.
It's not a bad idea.
We didn't discuss it at all yet, that's right.
Okay.
See, my fault.
Under-
Register your property.
Under the.
Wait, Mayor, before you go, I'd like to actually discuss this for 2 seconds, because that actually, I'm listening to our public's idea, and I just want to flesh it out for a minute with our borough attorney, if you don't mind. So, Bill was saying.
Well,
No,
no,
we fleshed it out pretty good.
Yeah, I know.
But this is a new
Well,
idea.
Asbury Park,
Yeah.
of course, that's a
Tourist.
touristy town, has an ordinance that says you want to register your property because you want to use a single-family home as like an Airbnb type thing. So that, and when you register it, the inspectors have the right to go in basically and make an inspection anytime they want, or if anybody complains about anything, to go in and make sure that it all complies with all safety requirements. They have actually, Asbury Park has actually like a 3-tiered thing. Single-family homes have one level, you make an application, oh, by the way, you have to pay a fee. So the town
That's
makes
nice.
money on that. And then they have 3 tiers. One single-family homes are 1 tier. Tier 2 are 2-family homes, owner-occupied, renting out short-term for one of the units. And the third one is short-term rentals for anything non-owner occupied, but not a hotel, not falling within the definition of hotel. All 3 require registration with the town, payment of annual fee, and an annual inspection. And the construction official can basically go in and make inspections on notice whenever they want to make sure, in case somebody complained.
I have a question for you.
I like this idea.
Hotel occupancy tax.
Right.
If they're running a hotel, are we entitled to collect tax?
If it's a hotel, yes.
Well,
If it's
Well,
illegal.
yeah.
If it's a bona fide.
If it's a real bona fide hotel. right.
You know, Lauren, look, Robin brought up a very interesting point. The question is, are we, I don't want to say jumping to conclusions, but are we going overboard on one complaint? And we're not even sure. I mean, I understand, first of all, I find it offensive that somebody's advertising in that manner about our town on the internet. But the question becomes, is the impact of that advertisement, is it causing a problem? You know, have the police ever been called because there's something going on in that house that is creating a disturbance? Christine made one point, Robin made another point. By just airbrushing something, we're eliminating everybody's opportunity to do a B&B, to do short-term rentals. If that's what we want to do, that's fine, but we have to understand the consequences of what we're doing.
Well, I don't think it's a non-issue if we have a complainant. I think the fact that a resident here has been affected by this is what brought it to the table. So maybe it's not, an explosive problem throughout town, but I know Airbnbs exist in our town. They may not be advertised in this way. And we do have to remember, World Cup is coming, 20 minutes away, in East Rutherford, and other things in which people may look to this in the future.
Well,
So,
I can tell you, the World Cup was here in 1996, and I don't think anybody rented any homes here.
it didn't exist back then. This concept just didn't exist.
Super
But the,
Bowl's here.
Super Bowl.
But when the Super Bowl was there was interest throughout the county in people renting their homes. So, you know what, the passage of an ordinance is a process. It gives us plenty of time to think about it, and I think we should think about it. And I didn't mean to to use the term non-issue, because if somebody's disturbed, it's an issue.
Mhm.
But the question becomes, what point do we step in and make big government bigger? I mean, what we're doing is creating more ordinances, more regulations in our town, if that's what we want to do.
I mean, I never think it's a problem I never think it's a bad idea to get in front of a problem before it becomes the problem. So, since it's on
Well,
the table, we're
that's the
discussing.
basis for which just about every law in the books has been passed.
No, most
No.
things that government does is react.
It reacts.
Exactly.
And I think
No.
it would be good for us to be I don't want,
This is on the forefront.
I think to Robin's point in particular, what I don't want is somewhere down the road, somebody complaining on a certain street, my neighbor, it's enough that I have construction trucks 2 houses away. Now I got a neighbor that's got a revolving stream of cars and people coming in and going out who I don't know, and every day it's someone different. And that, I have kids who are walking these streets in this neighborhood, and that this is not what I want next door.
I find it
And
hard to believe, though, that we're gonna get to that.
Well,
I
Jeffrey,
agree. I agree. It's hard to believe that we're going to get to that, and we have a lot of ordinances that are based on we don't want to get there. So maybe 30 days is not what we want. Maybe we want an ordinance that's worded a little differently, or maybe even a shorter time. Maybe having somebody there for 2 weeks if they're business from Englewood Cliffs, or just renting to the business. I've done that, not here, but when I lived in New Brunswick, I did summer rentals to businesses when I was at Rutgers as a grad student. It's whoever they put in there, but it was a 2-month rental to that business. It wasn't a 2-day rental and then 3 days later I'm renting to someone else.
But that's operating a business.
But
That's not really what most people
also,
want to
the
do
reality of
on
it is,
Airbnb.
somebody at the table said, I want to know who lives next door to me.
Mhm.
Okay?
It was-
So if somebody comes in there for 3 days versus 2 weeks, they're still in and out. They're not residents of our town. They're not people that have a vested interest in our community. And
Well, I'm listening to these.
Well,
I'm trying to find a reasonable way for us to discuss this, but
Yeah, I just wanna say that, though, you could say the same thing about some people that rent here for a year,
yeah, you could.
okay?
You absolutely could.
I mean, we're older
Sorry.
here, we know our neighbors and stuff, but a lot of times new people coming in, even people that are purchasing properties, are not super friendly, okay?
All right, like I said, it's a process and we have plenty of time to think about it. Would somebody like to read the 18-21? Make the motion, introduce. Dan?
here you want, I got
Like
it.
on new business.
All right, Jeff will do it.
Whatever. I move to introduce and pass on first reading ordinance 18-21 and set the hearing for October 9th, 2018 at 8 p.m. or soon thereafter in the Tenafly Municipal Center.
Second.
Ordinance number 18-21, ordinance providing for the purchase of a roll-off truck for the borough of Tenafly appropriating $270,000 therefore, including the insurance proceeds in
That's
the
what I
amount
looked
of
at specifically.
$124,597.50 received, and authorizing the issuance of $143,000 in bonds or notes of the borough of to finance part of the cost thereof.
Okay. Is there can we have questions on this one, because
You can have questions, but this was in the budget, it was approved.
No, in the budget, there was a truck.
No,
Okay.
this is the replacement of the vehicle,
Oh, the one that was-
the plow.
This was the cloud
And
that
did
ran
we,
into
did
the.
we get
Wait.
an insurance settlement?
Yes, the
Yeah,
124,000
There you go.
is from the insurance, and we have to bond for the balance.
So it's not in the budget, because in the budget,
It's not,
that's
it's
what
the
I
one
checked.
that the winter
Can we
storm broke.
Can we, appeal the small amount from the insurance? It
Small
was
amount?
really insignificant.
Yeah.
They only did 50%, I thought it was less than, roughly.
124,000, but how old is the truck?
Very old.
That's probably good.
Probably by the depreciated value.
Okay, so we have in the budget, replacement of a leaf, top kick.
No, this is outside the budget.
I understand that. We have a replacement of top kick, whatever, for $225,000 in the capital. What kind of a truck is this one, so I can compare to what we had in our budget?
This is a truck that will be utilized for leaf season and then for snow plowing.
Is it a leaf loader?
Leaf loader?
I mean, I'm trying to, we have a few of them in the budget, and I wanna try to match it with whatever we have. What kind of a truck is gonna be that we're buying for
Roll-off.
$275,000?
Roll-off.
Sorry?
It's a roll-off.
A roll-off, okay. We have a roll-off
Roll-off.
for $225. Why is this $275?
I think they're different weight class. Maybe?
I need somebody to answer, but, you know, we need to
Newer
understand.
model, maybe?
That's what I need to understand.
And I just can't even, they didn't even make it to 50%.
Yeah, I mean,
would,
what's- how-
I would challenge this, I want more money from the insurance.
How do you know that the truck that got destroyed wasn't an older truck or hadn't depreciated down to the
Well, let's
point
find
where
out.
it's?
It's actually pretty
I would expect that the adjuster, whoever the adjuster dealt with, had to make a determination that
The gym,
That's not right.
It also includes
Yes.
the plow component, since the whole truck and the plow
And
was
the plow.
destroyed, it's with the component of the plow.
well, that's true. It's
That's why it's
also
higher
a
Okay.
regular roll-off wouldn't necessarily have a plow.
So can we have
Was
like
this
a-
insurance settlement from our insurance company or from PSE&G's insurance company?
No, I think it would have been our own insurance
Ow.
company.
So why don't we get money from the PSCNG?
Whatever happened to any sort of a claim from PSE&G on this?
Yeah, let's make it for the rest of it.
Yeah.
they filed a counterclaim, but,
I think
mean,
that, what, you mean TSC&G claimed that, we damaged their steel plate?
right, yes, they did.
I mean,
They
this is
failed to-
ridiculous.
They
I
failed to
mean,
notify it.
we should basically follow up on this claim. I mean,
Well, I don't know what the claim is.
We just
It
don't
would be
lay-
it would be covered by insurance
Yes,
though.
it's at the insurance company.
no. Our insurance company, it's our claim, first of all. But we have a claim against PSCNG.
Think about this.
I'm thinking about it.
The same way if you have collision on your car.
Yeah.
All right. So you have a certain amount of collision on your car. You have a contract.
Yeah.
Your insurance company pays you X amount of dollars.
I-
Well, they pay you X amount of dollars when someone else hits you, and they're subrogated to your rights to go after the other insurance company and say, hey, you owe us money.
Okay.
Now, you're saying that you want to make a claim against a first party claim against our
I
own
never
insurance company.
claim,
Say,
if I have an accident and I know the other's fault, I don't even go to my company. I go directly to the other party and I claim on their insurance, and I don't go through mine, subrogate, and get, because it takes
you're supposed to
17.
report it to your insurance company.
I tell them not to claim because I'm already getting the claim, and I tell them the claim from the other party.
That's not a choice we have.
Yes, we
We have to
Yeah.
follow the rules of the joint
There
insurance
is no,
fund.
there is no, you can have a claim against any party.
Well,
Hold
hazard of
on,
the road that
you know,
wasn't-
unfortunately, there are
properly
different
marked.
rules for municipalities.
Exactly.
But
What do you think?
Joel,
This is the only way to
Yeah.
replace it
You're
to have
supposed
it
to
for snow
report to your
season.
insurance
Insurance
company. That's why you pay for your
We
insurance.
report it.
hold, Lisette.
Let's put this in closed session.
Lisette, I think we need a better understanding of how this was resolved. We don't seem to,
Right.
the sense I got was there was a high level of negligence on PSE&G's part because there was no signage up there stating that there was a plate that our plow hit. And that alone, to me, I don't understand. I'd like to understand how this was settled and how the amount was arrived upon.
Yeah.
This wasn't PSE&G involved in this at this
Well, we
point.
don't know.
Should this be discussed
We-
in closed since it's potential litigation?
I think it should be
We-
discussed in
we
closed.
could move it in.
Was there an actual claim made by PSC&G?
Just a letter.
Oh.
Then this should
Went
be
to the
closed.
gist.
No, Bill, do we need to do this in closed
We
session?
should, if you're gonna talk about pursuing
Yes,
things.
so-
So,
But,
However, with, even whatever the case may be that will be discussed in closed, this is a timing issue. We're down a vehicle and
So we
this
has-
is to replace it and have it in time for snow plowing.
Yeah, so if we
Pass
don't get this
first reading.
vehicle.
So we have to bond for it now, or else we lose the opportunity
Pass
to-
first reading and we can discuss on the second,
For the second reading.
for timing purposes.
well, it's gonna be.
I would suggest to the council that we
Yeah.
move ahead with this ordinance, but at the same time,
If
Yeah.
additional funding comes, it will be deposited and help to
Yeah, but we
offset
didn't
that.
ask for additional, that's the problem we have.
That I don't know.
Yeah.
so
So
let's
but-
move ahead with this ordinance, cause we
Yeah.
need it for the snow plowing.
Okay.
But Lisette, we need to have somebody come in here or get some information on how this was, how we arrived at this so-called settlement.
We can always table it for second.
No, because of the timing, we have the
I mean,
estoppel
it's true.
period and we're going towards the end of the council meeting year.
And also, we need to understand why it's 275. It's a very high amount. A regular truck is,
Well, each truck is different, but we'd like to know what the
It
No,
also,
difference is.
it also
a
includes
top-
the
regular
soft cost
top is
of bond
225.
counsel. When we go to bond, there's section 20 costs, those are soft costs for the professionals to file a bond,
So
and
it's
to
costing
provide.
us to do.
But we need to understand those costs.
I'm curious as to perhaps the plow is added onto this.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
How much the truck, how much the plow, how much of the soft cost, we need to
Okay.
understand.
Do you have a sense of what we're looking for?
Yes.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
Wait, we go.
To,
No, I have to do the roll call.
go ahead.
Councilmember Bash,
Yes,
Councilmember Dayton,
No.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Parker.
Yes.
Committee
I
reports.
understand.
Dan, you have
Still
anything?
make a claim, you know.
I don't want to be involved.
NVG had their, Northern Valley Greenway had their info session tonight for the stakeholder
Input session.
yes, input session. There was a lot of, about 80 people showed up in and out, and there was very positive feedback, so it's gaining traction, and it looks like people are very interested in this.
So the question I have is, who were the professionals, not the stakeholders, but who were we talking to there?
I believe it was NJT DOT,
NV5, European Service.
yes, and I know
We
county
spoke,
employees were there.
NV5, the consultant hired by the NJDOT, was running the meeting. They invited 15 agencies, allegedly 14 were there, including New Jersey Transit, and other agencies that would be expected to
Have
need to be
some-
aware of the
some part.
Greenway.
Okay,
So like the county engineers and planning were
so
there.
this seems to be moving along.
Yes.
We all appreciate it's a long, long process, but I think it's starting to catch the imagination of the public. This would be a
Yes, it is.
wonderful thing, not only for Tenafly, but every community between here and New York State. So that's,
Including
you
Ed-
great job, Christine. And
on the record.
what else, Dan? Anything else?
No, that's it.
Jeff, you have anything?
Historic preservation is moving forward. They're divvying up different parts of the Sergeant Teresco opening, and people are working on trying to get contacts so we can have a first-class program on November 11th to inaugurate the memorial.
Well,
Sounds like it's progressing well.
I'll piggyback on that because I went to the pre-construction meeting. That was included the contractor that's doing the work and the GC. They are convinced that they will not have a problem, famous last words, meeting the deadline. They want to have it done by November 7th so that Veterans Day, November 11th, which is a Sunday, we can have our grand opening. That's about it. I mean, the only thing they're waiting for, they have the benches. The only thing they're waiting for is the monument, which is being built, as Jules said, by American Monument, which is down in Englewood. In fact, if you drive down Dean Drive, you see it.
Very close.
It sounds good. Karen called me today about a grand opening. I know a military unit contacted her this week about participating. This was the unit, I believe, that Sergeant Oresco was involved in. They want to participate. I've reached out to the Tenafly High School band to see if they would come. So it's starting to shape up. It should be a very nice event, 1 o'clock on November the 11th. Anything else, Jeff?
That's it.
Max, you have anything?
Yeah, but I think that I missed the Senior Center Board of Trustee met, and they have selected the new officers and the new president. I'm gonna tell you the name at the next meeting because I don't remember. The activities of this of the senior centers are absolutely, flawless. They'll have again their vendors, whatever they call it.
Craft fair.
Yeah, fair, and
When?
the majority is October 11th, or take a look. I'll tell you when it is. And most of the vendors have resigned. There are some small issues related, some free tickets from Bergen
Bergen
PAC, but that's going to be resolved internally, and that's pretty much it.
Okay. Lauren, you have anything?
I do. I want to make sure everyone knows on October 9th, the Welcoming Committee has their new residence event. I have partnered with Shauna DeMarco, the new superintendent's office, to get the new residents invitations sent to all our HSAs to reach the school-aged new children. We have sent out almost 400 new resident cards, and Roxana and her team made wonderful gift bags, so we hope that you guys will attend. It is at the same night as our council meeting, so it will be in the McCandles room first. Come over, have a bite to eat, meet some new residents, and then come on over here. Chamber of Commerce on October 27th is sponsoring the shredding and a donation truck in the Wells Fargo parking lot. The donation truck will be for small household goods, and if Christine and I get our minds together real quick, we can see if we can do something else on that day.
That would be dangerous.
Yeah. The rec met, they're having a very good sign up for fall sports, soccer, football, lacrosse. They wanna let you know they're excited about the tiger cage. They're gonna pave that concrete over there. They're very happy about that. And there's a Halloween celebration we're all invited to on October 27th. The Board of Adjustments met. They had their third part of the T-Mobile hearing. Unfortunately, that was the week I was away, so I'm not sure the outcome and whether there was a vote. Anyone?
I wasn't able.
Okay. And finally, the youth center. I stopped by the new floor and kitchen. The kids have expressed they want a girlier space for some arts and crafts, and we'll discuss more about that later.
Okay, I just have, I did go to the Board of Health meeting last week, and the one thing I took away from that is they would like the council to take a stand on recreational marijuana. The majority of the board opposes that being allowed in Tenafly. They support medical marijuana, but not recreational marijuana. It has been mentioned that there have been some cases of West Nile fever in Bergen County. The county is taking a more aggressive stand towards spraying. I know they were in Teaneck this past week, and that's about it for the Board of Health.
I have a question on that. Do they spray our parks and playgrounds?
No.
Can we have them?
We can, but the question is, do you really want that?
Yes. If there's
I
West.
don't think you can, I think,
Why?
because of the stuff that's in the spray, I think you have to give it to them.
It's a pesticide.
Yeah.
But isn't it
We don't-
organic? Because they come to spray my backyard, and they just say for
But I don't
Who
know what
does?
the county
the
uses.
county does.
The county sprays your backyard?
Yeah, you can call up a number and they will come to your property. I do it every year, and they just say don't have your kids play in the backyard for a half hour,
Right.
Half hour?
and then that's it. Usually we're not playing in there anyway, because it's doing mosquitoes.
Lisette, you want to speak to Carl and see if, what his opinion is on that, if he's in favor of it? If not, let us know why.
They usually do it at night.
The other.
Yeah, sure, they do. They do it in the middle of the morning or middle of the night.
In the middle of baseballs.
So,
So, well, then it doesn't evaporate, that it dries, that whatever it
Lining is
sinks in,
everything.
and then done.
On, okay, on September
Cloud of
7th, on September 17th, I attended it was not a public meeting, it was a meeting of the there were only about 6 of us there, the Community Safety Task Force, to talk about where the schools were on upgrades and their safety. And they are doing a upgraded camera system throughout the school system, talking about well over 100 cameras being added, like 23 at Stillman, 27 at McKay, 21 at Warm.
Inside or outside?
Both.
Both.
And 36 at Smith, 84 at the middle school, 92 at the high school. It will cost about $750,000. It'll be a capital expense.
Direct feed to the police?
Yes. Well, you know, I mean, you can't have over 200 cameras going. You know, they're all on recorders. So if you need them, it's
But
there.
no one's like watching the feed all day.
No,
Um,
it never happens.
They're also doing a what they call a lens system, which is a lockdown emergency notification system. It's an expansion of their phone systems, giving them increased ability to lock down the schools. You know, I think almost every room in these schools now have a phone, and that system is going to be upgraded, and that will cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $350,000. They were talking about panic buttons in the offices, and they say the New Jersey Department of Education now has come in and had drills in each of the schools unannounced. They are talking about lanyards now, a lanyard system, 2 colors, one color for staff and one color for substitute teachers and visitors, and scan cards. They're really going forward on safety.
And you said panic buttons?
Panic buttons in the offices.
Not in the
Not
school
in the
classes?
classrooms. No, you don't want them in the school classes.
Any discussion on double doors or any of capital improvements on
No.
the actual structures?
What I heard them say is the downside of what they call man traps, double doors, is that you have to have somebody manning them, and a secretary isn't trained, and you know, you'd almost need a police officer. They're moving forward towards Class 3 officers in each building.
Hired from outside or hired from like retired officers here?
That's
Well,
what it's
they're basically retired police officers that go through training, a specific training. The cost of that was estimated, the number thrown out at this meeting was $250,000. The problem is where that money's gonna come from, because that cannot be capitalized. And they're looking at, they'd like to do it this year, but there's no money in the budget for it. So that is a question. They
Yeah, cut the.
Cut from the Board of Ed.
The superintendent of schools mentioned that she believes that close to 50% of the school districts in Bergen County now have Class 3 officers. I suggested to her, to the committee, that before they go forward on this, that they should have at least one public meeting where the public can be heard before they institute it, because I think it's we've talked about it in the past, and I don't think a public meeting is going to change the outcome or anything like that, but I think in a situation like this, if you don't give the public an opportunity to speak and to be heard, you have a problem later. So there's going to be a public meeting of the Community Safety Task Force in the near future, and at which time I guess this will be discussed.
Can you guys let us know when that is? I'd like to attend.
Oh yeah, you'll know. You're if for no other reason, you're a school parent, but everybody will know. It will be well publicized. And that's it for that meeting. And unless anybody else has anything else, I'll go to mayor's remarks.
We didn't decide a joint use meeting, right? A date.
Well, that's being done by email.
I gave dates to the Board of Ed, I'm
Okay.
waiting to hear
We'll
back.
just hear back. Okay.
Under mayor's remarks, I have a proclamation I'd like to read. Whereas Jewel Thompson Chin has served the borough of Tenafly for 9 years as the Tenafly Borough Administrator, And whereas during those 9 years, Jewel Thompson Chin has exhibited outstanding leadership qualities, guiding and directing the Borough Hall staff and the borough's professionals. And whereas Jewel Thompson Chin has partnered, taught, and mentored the elected officials she has served under. And whereas Jewel Thompson Chin has provided the residents of Tenafly with a consistent, professional approach to municipal management. And whereas Jewel Thompson Chin, through the quality of her work as Borough Administrator, has been recognized throughout the state of New Jersey as one of the premier municipal managers in New Jersey. And whereas in these times, for any governmental agency to maintain a level of excellence for an extended period of time, credit must be given to the person at the top of the organizational chart. Now therefore be it proclaimed that on the occasion of Jewel Thompson Chin's retirement, let all of Tenafly recognize Jewel's body of work, be thankful for her service to our borough, and may we all wish her and her family good health and happiness in all of her future endeavors.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you for your service. And I'll entertain a motion to, well, you want to read the closed session, please?
Resolve in compliance with NJSA 10:4-12, the Mayor and Council will go into closed executive session to discuss the following matters. The first three are personnel matters. One regarding the Borough Clerk's office. Second is a family medical leave update. And the third is an employee issue brought up by Councilwoman Dayton. And last is just another brief discussion, attorney-client privilege matter in turn involving the Town of Kell Swim Club lease. Minutes will be taken in the meeting, released to the public, the time the matter is resolved. After this closed executive session, Mayor and Council will reconvene in this Richard D. Wilson Committee room to adjourn this public meeting.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To the members of the public, thank you for coming in. Have a good evening.
Good evening, thank you.
Let's talk about this day.
Yeah, okay. I mean, there's a third. Absolutely.
2-minute break, guys?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
I need soup.